I got to get you to warm up a little bit. Maybe, like, I don't know. I had to think about this on my lonely walk back up to the booth. I'm like, why is he so mean to me? And I was thinking, you know what? Tim might just be in a zone. He's trying to work. Like, he's not out here, you know, telling jokes like I am. That dude's like dialed.
You need to catch high school sideline, Tim, like I did last week.
Is
That's the
high
loose
school
Tim.
sideline, Tim, looser than Saturday? Get all the good recruits, Tim. What's the difference in that, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I think Friday I'm just a little looser just because I have one thing that's on my mind, which is evaling, and and then at the end of the game I got to do my interview, but that's nothing. But evaling, and then game day. It's just there's a billion things. It's last week I was taking pictures and I'm dealing with recruiting and trying to make sure I'm on top of things and making sure it's like, hey, I know what I'm looking for in this game, and I also have so it's just there's a lot happening on Saturdays versus Friday nights.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, at some point, it's just gonna be me. Like maybe it's just me. I'm kind of light. I'm kind of light in the studio, and people look at me sideways. I think maybe I'm beginning to think it is just me. Although Benny Mac, he rocks with me. Like he can be good natured too. Everybody else is like, it's game day. Get your ass in gear. I'm like, let's like. I don't know, man. I walked back under the ropes to get off the field after I saw you TV, and I was like, damn, man, maybe he doesn't like me.
Gotta lighten up.
That's not true.
Well, listen.
No, I don't need to hear from you. He answered. I heard from him. I don't need you chiming in like Big Ben.
Say we don't have to take it as seriously as the team does. Like I'm free.
That's what you were gonna say.
It was actually. I'm free to be like, listen, guys, it's Houston Christian. I'm probably not gonna get too worried about their front and stuff like that. Like I'm probably cool.
TV, when you like doing this stuff in terms of evals. How important is when you pit what you think you may see on the field, whatever that is, and I'll let you get to it. How do you pit that against what guys on campus will actually be seeing this weekend? How hand in hand do they go?
Yeah, like I mean, like you just talking in terms of like what we're going to see on Saturday.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I mean, it's just like last week a little bit where I mean, I'm looking for improvement. I'm looking for like hey, like for right now, I just put out my like three guys I want more of and more from against Houston Christian, and this week's a little weird just because of the opponent and what I expect Nebraska's going to be able to do like they did last week. So like I'm looking for individual development. Example, I want more of Gabe Moore tomorrow. I'd like to see more of him. Nebraska needs some depth along the interior. He's missed the last 2 years. He was limited in spring ball and fall camp. Go get some reps. Go get some reps tomorrow. I'd like to see more from him. My Hartzog's going to be limited. Sounds like I want to see more from Jameer Khan, because Nebraska's, I think, at this point, Donovan Jones is an established 6 DB. They need a 7th. They're going to need depth there. I'd like to see Jameer Khan make some plays tomorrow. So I'm really just looking at individuals primarily tomorrow, just looking for improvement, looking for guys, flashing, making plays. At some point, I'd like to see more of the freshmen. I thought last week we got Quinn Clark. We got a good, kind of breakout moment from him. Would like to see kind of a breakout moment from a Cortez Mills or a Jeremiah Jones or even a Keelan Smith. Like one of those three would like to see something there. And then from a unit perspective, I mean, Houston Christian's run game is going to challenge Nebraska. I would like caution Nebraska fans from reading too far into the results like they did last year, when Northern Iowa, gashed Nebraska. It happens. It is just a match. Like, so, but I am looking to see kind of how this defense reacts to what Houston Christian presents up front, what this offense does, maybe if they're caught on their heels, or defense does if they're caught on their heels at times on Saturday. So it's just like marginal little things, but I'm trying not to read into and make overarching like, hey, someone performs really well. I'm not going to read into it and say, hey, Nebraska has a new breakout star or anything. Like it's Houston Christian. I think there should be a little bit of keeping in mind who the opponent is, what's ahead for Nebraska. But it's a good opportunity to build some confidence and get this thing like fully functional and up and running before Michigan next week.
So I thought the Jeremiah Jones pick was interesting, and you kind of mentioned him in the same breath as like a Keelan Smith and Cortez Mills Jr. For the wide receivers in general, is it specific to him or is it more about the group?
I think it's about the group. I mean, the reason I'm singling Jeremiah, I think, of that group is, yeah, I like the group overall, and I think, I think Nebraska needs one of those younger guys to kind of have that breakout moment, that confidence, boosting moment, like Quinn did last week. And I think at this point in their development, I think both Keelan and Cortez are more well-rounded than Jeremiah. But at his size and what he's able to do, I think Jeremiah is the biggest wild card in the room, just in terms of, what he doesn't need to know the route tree or the playbook in and out to make a difference. You know what I mean? Just from what he can do athletically. He's a guy that, in my opinion, at some point down the line, Nebraska's going to need this like big explosive play. And, if he's on track and if he's healthy and if he's, as dialed in mentally as he is, kind of physically, there's a chance it could be Jeremiah Jones they turn to down the line. I just think they're going to need weapons and they're going to need to go deeper into that room. And Jeremiah is the guy that has that kind of like take the game over or break the game open type capability.
Tim, you said something a minute ago that kind of caught my attention, and I promise I'm not trying to be combative. This is a real question.
No,
this is a real question. So you said that
he oozes being combative, Tim. Just saying.
That's just a you thing. You said that Houston Christian's run game could give Nebraska some troubles. Like, what have you seen that leads you to believe that? I've looked. I haven't really been able to find it. I don't really know what to do.
He is a big time back, though.
I don't really.
It's just individual. So like, it's just like against like Cincinnati when I said I wanted Nebraska to answer the test of, can you tackle Evan Pryor and Tawi Walker in space? And I thought they did a pretty solid job of that. It's just that, like, I think it's just more of that of they're going to feed Jason Edwards. They're going to feed Darrell Evans. I think both of those guys are, for Houston Christian players, they are more like power forward type backs. They did transfer down, or, one transfer down, the other one, kind of had a weird recruitment. But both found themselves at Houston Christian. I texted with Mike Rosivy about it because he was asking me how Edwards ended up at Houston Christian. It was just a weird recruitment, weird kid. I like he's a good player, good, all of that, but like just a weird recruitment. Didn't handle it not the right way. That's not the way to put it. Just didn't handle it the way a recruitment should have been handled. Ended up at Houston Christian. It was the only committable offer left. And, he's doing what he's doing now. Has an opportunity to potentially transfer up after this year. But I think it's just individuals. Like, I want to see how this unit attacks. And again, it is less so about the opponent and more so of, it is Houston Christian. Like they are going to want to run the ball. Nebraska should be able to physically dominate them. Show it. And it is just like, I want to see just improvement from the run game is essentially what I'm trying to say.
So this is interesting because I know Latif is on that list, and I was teasing Ravi earlier, but I was not. I was like, this has got to be the only place where we're interested in how quickly we can get the best player on our offense off the field to see someone else. And that's just me being sarcastic, but I kind of get the backup quarterback thing because if the season does get derailed somehow, it would probably start with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking along that line, is Latif the next logical choice to want to make sure that you're as ready as you can be should something happen?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, it's the way the staff kind of looked at it in this offseason, or this spring specifically, when they moved TJ above Gramstad. It's like, okay, listen, in a probably short area, if Dylan were to miss a game and Nebraska just needed to kind of ride out the rest of the game and win that game, they're up by 2 scores and they just needed to kind of have someone in there, Gramstad could do that perfectly well. And if he really needed to, he could probably score and lead a scoring drive and lead Nebraska back if he needed to. I just think from what they've seen from Latif from the spring into fall camp, and as he's continued to progress and dive into the playbook, they feel there's a guy there that it's not just that there isn't like much of a drop off. This is a guy that if Dylan goes down or if something were to, God forbid, something happens, knock on wood, Latif can come in and can elevate the offense and give them opportunities to outperform. It's the old truck and trailer thing of as a quarterback, are you a truck? Are you a trailer? Are you carried by the offense around you, or can you carry the offense? I think Dylan can be the truck. I think TJ through one game has already shown he can kind of be that too. He has the traits to be that guy. And I don't know if there are any like Gramstad is more of a trailer. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be, especially in a Dana Holgerson offense, you can be uber productive. You can even make the NFL by being something of a trailer in an offense, But if you can be a truck, that just takes the offense to a whole new level, and it gives Nebraska an opportunity where, okay, yeah, if something happens to Dylan, okay, we can still win Big Ten games because we have a difference maker at the quarterback position.
Tim, as you're looking at the defensive side of things, and you mentioned Gabe Moore, which I'm still sort of just fascinated about, that didn't practice until Tuesday and then actually looked pretty solid against Akron. What are you looking for out of the linebackers? I think that's the only group we haven't really talked about on the defense yet, because you talked about Jameer Khan and the defensive backs. I think there's, at least me personally, I don't want to speak for anybody else, there's a part of me that's waiting for the linebackers to start popping a little bit more in terms of kind of making some splash plays, because I like some of those guys. I like Javen Wright. I like Vincent Shavers. I'm wait and see on Watson Trent. Like, is there a party that's waiting to see a little bit more from them?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it is just kind of feels like something where what this defense is asking them to do compared to last year. Their eyes need to be better. They need to be like kind of on it from a reaction speed standpoint. And they were, I mean, two the guys credit. John Bullock and Mekhi Bear were triggering pretty quick last year. And Javen Wright, when he was in, was doing assignments down. I think this year, some of the issues you've seen is, okay, yeah, sometimes I noted it in my story this morning, like, hey, Shavers, it's a little bit inconsistent in how fast he's reading and reacting, how fast he's triggering, how fast he's, kind of filling his gap and where he's at. Like, I want to see more assignment sound football from them. I'm not looking for them, I think, tomorrow. Like, I'd like to see more splash plays, sure, but I just want to see more assignment sound football from that unit tomorrow, because they're going to need to be a lot more assignment sound against Michigan and, moving forward into conference play. I'd like to see more splash plays. I think Shavers is the guy that, continues to be Nebraska's most explosive, maybe arguably Nebraska's most explosive kind of defensive playmaker. Need him to make more plays. I kind of want to see a little more from Watson Trent specifically. I think he's a guy that is starting to kind of settle into his role a little bit as this, maybe not the D linebacker, but a guy that, is coming in and providing quality cleanup snaps. A little more from him, a little more from Shavers. Dawson Merritt, I thought, had some nice flashes last week. Would like to see him kind of pop. And I think the progression through this year has been fun. Like Deshaun McCullough, game one, it's like, okay, you can see some salt, like it's coming together. By the end of the game, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, here it is. And then last week, I felt like the green lights come on, and I'm excited to see that continue to progress moving forward. I thought you saw a little bit of that with Cade, obviously Petruk last week. I think Dawson's at that moment where last week it felt like, okay, he's getting his feet under him. I wouldn't be surprised if like the green light fully comes on for Dawson tomorrow, and it's like, oh, he's starting to like really fight some of these guys for snaps because the green lights come on.
I'm kind of cheering for Merritt now because his parents were so cool. I don't know. It's weird. I don't, TV. I'm weird like that. Where I try to put two and two together based on kind of what I think maybe I'm totally speculating, right? What happens in the household, because obviously I don't live with those people, but the vibe that I get can sometimes it sets my mind thinking in terms of what I'm going to be getting out on the football field. After seeing them the last handful of weeks and spending some time with his mom and dad, he may be the one guy, and I'm not going to say I was wrong about, but that I thought was more developmental than he's turned out to be. And it's primarily because, number one, the position's not really a switch, but putting him inside, which is not something that I saw coming. But number two, like his maturity on the fly post the shoulder surgery, the added good weight, the handling the rigor after Trent and Shavers had some missed time in fall camp, like the 6 inches between his ears appears to be as good as anything that we're seeing from him physically.
Yeah, I mean, I had no questions about the person after seeing him in person and getting around. Like, they're wonderful people. Same thing with Mosey. I mean, it's just I mean,
his
dad.
I called his dad the other day just because I wanted to share some thoughts with him, and it was one of those awkward phone calls where when I hung up, I bet he was like, "This damn DB is a weirdo. Like, why?" But it was just one of those. It's not funny, Ravi. He can laugh. It's one of those things, TV, where I felt like if I didn't say it then, I wasn't gonna say it at all. It just happened to be at 6:10 in the morning. But his the stock, man, the emotional investment that sometimes caregivers can instill is super monumental. Can
Oh
be.
yeah. Yeah, and I think for Dawson, and something we'll get into as he continues to develop and progress here at Nebraska. Couple things there. Like one, obviously, yeah, the shoulder injury, but also like my biggest concern was the weight. Like, was he able to get the weight on? He's got it on now. He looks phenomenal, and he's moving
I
around like
was floored.
yeah, looks phenomenal. And then I like again, like on the field last week, I just wanted to see him move around. I'm like, this is the same speed I saw last year still there. Is he not? He's not lost a step. In fact, I think he's kind of, especially moving downhill, moving with the kind of a little more reckless abandon coming downhill. So I'm excited to see kind of that development moving forward. But I think something we're going to keep in mind moving forward from a mental side of him, football wasn't forced on him, despite having like a football dad that coached in the NFL and all of that. It wasn't really forced on him. He was a basketball kid first, and he started to really pick it up in high school and really started to like get to it. But it really didn't click for him until like somewhere between sophomore and junior season, where he started to sit down with his dad in the film room. And so I think it helps his development, and from a mental standpoint, if you're for something your whole life and you're like, hey, I'm going, like sometimes it does just click, like Dylan. Sometimes it does just click and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm a quarterback. I've been seeing this my whole life and it's good to go. This was never really forced on Dawson. So when it came to him, he got to kind of pursue and jump into it full speed. And so he's fully passionate about it. And he's met with someone in his father who is equally passionate about it and is like now, really excited to invest into him. The mental development of his game and his on and off the field is something that just rapidly changed over these last 3 years, because he wasn't a football prospect. He wasn't even really a prospect in anything, going into his sophomore year. And now he's at Nebraska, a 4-star linebacker, has a chance to kind of crack, the rotation as a freshman and moving forward. And I think it's just something that I'm excited to kind of dive into moving forward, because, you do see these guys that, I mean, Isaiah Mosey, football was what Isaiah Mosey was doing his whole life just because of his dad. Same thing with Dylan. It's not like that with Dawson, and I think it's part of why he plays the game the way he does. It's why he's so passionate about it, and why he's so like, you talk to him and you talk like, I mean, maybe you can probably attest to this. You
Yeah,
talk to him,
I have
he's
one of
so
those.
excited to learn.
I have one of those in my own house. It's the
Right.
exact. You're telling the same. You're telling the same story.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, but they're so
Out.
excited to learn, because it's like they have this whole now these years to catch up on, and they have someone that they could be like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Like, listen to Dawson Merrick, because Dawson like used to tell me like last year, told me he, used to go to Chiefs practice and work out at scout receiver, when in summer camp, and kind of do that. And then once he started really picking up football, he, was started to work more on the defensive side of the ball. And before his senior year, he went to camp, and he was like, well, now I'm trying to pick off Pat. Like the motivation changed from, oh, I'm just a kid out here having fun 2 summers ago, to, okay, well, now I'm at linebacker and I'm trying to trigger, I'm trying to pick off Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's so funny to hear those stories, because it's just like yesterday or day before. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he had some downtime, and I said, well, what are you doing? And he had it mapped out. He wanted to get an extra lift in. He wanted to get in the rehab, the cold tank. And I'm like, isn't it amazing what a difference 2 years makes? And he said, I'm learning on the fly. This is kind of fun, right? So it's like you spend all this other time doing other things and having your attention split, like what you're talking about. And then you start to see the gains of just investing on the fly. So you want more, right? It's like, the natural curiosity of playing catch up is kind of been the driving factor. And it's weird too, because they're really good friends, right? They spend a lot of time with each other. Having said that, let me go to a different position, TV, that I'm curious about, because we're referencing the weight gain and training and guys being invested. And obviously Corey Campbell and that crew and Kristen, well documented on their level of importance. There's a couple of body types that interest me in terms of their development. It's guys like Gabe Moore. It's guys like LaFoe.
Yeah.
When you're looking at some of these younger D linemen with these transfer, LaFoe really interests me in terms of his body type, because he's close. When you start looking at some of these these body types along the D line? Are there a couple of young guys that you think before it's all said and done will be more prominent than kind of how we're thinking about the D line right now?
Yeah, more it's a weird body. Like, and if y'all have been around practice, like you see the upper body and you're like, okay, pretty solid. Then you just kind of keep moving down and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. But it is something where, like, hey, in what Nebraska kind of needs right now on the interior, he is one of those like stout interior bodies that can eat up space and hold his, kind of hold that gap, hold that blocker, and do that. And Nebraska kind of needs some of those type of guys. He's one that intrigues me, just because of what we saw, because he looks completely, and I'm about to say about another guy, he looks completely different than he did at Louisville High School in Mississippi. He was a 6'4", 250-pound edge rusher there, that played, with pretty impressive power, and a motor. And so if those two things are translating to now that he's, 6'5", 295, I'm excited to see that progression. And I think Nebraska saw something there. Nebraska didn't. I would be curious at some point to get, a true honest take on what they saw and more out of the portal, a guy that didn't play for 2 years, that is changing positions, that's been dealing with a unique kind of injury, and now he's at a point where he's at the interior and all of that. So he's not what I expected. I kind of, when Nebraska added him, I thought he was going to be more of a defensive end jack type. I thought the same thing about Jalen George, who is now, it looks huge. Like the first time I saw Jalen George on the practice field, I was like, wait a second, is that Malcolm Simpson? Because Malcolm Simpson wore 90. And no, it's George, who is now, still a sawed off kind of pass rusher, but he's closer to 290 and more of an interior body. And I thought what we saw from him against Cincinnati, there were some encouraging flashes there. I was surprised we didn't see more of him on against Akron. So he's a guy that I think is going to factor into that interior moving forward. But those two specifically, and Sua, those three, what they came in as and what they were expected to be, I kind of thought, hey, kind of sawed off pass rushers, jack types. And then Nebraska saw something else and said, hey, these guys can hold 30, 40 more pounds than they currently do and still move around well. And they did that. They added that weight onto those guys, and now they are where they're at. I'm intrigued to see kind of what this looks like moving forward, how these guys adapt to the additional weight and how they settle into their roles. I think George in particular, I think I like the way his overall body looks right now. He's carrying the weight well. More, it's one of those things where I don't know where the body moves from here, but you can see a role for, hey, he looks a little weird, but you can see a role for a guy like that along the interior. And at this point, I mean, Nebraska just needs guys on the interior specifically. Nebraska needs guys that can hold space and free up, their edge rushers to get after the quarterback. I think they have, at least in theory, they have those guys right now that are starting to get those reps and down the stretch should be able to be more comfortable once we get into October, November, to play serious rotational minutes. And if something were to happen, could step up into bigger roles if needed.
I got Nebraska's not going to get enough. They won't get credit for his development because he's highly touted out of high school. They got him out of the portal. But I think his evolution, just watching him from spring to what he's done in the weight room to how they're using him now, and he's just diversified his game. Boy, if Nebraska wants a portal development poster child, it's going to be Deshaun McCullough.
Yep.
Listen, TV. This dude's game has grown so much since he's been in Lincoln. And it's not just the frame and his commitment to the strength and development portion. His game has evolved. And he's got a chance, in my opinion, to be one of their top defenders across the board. And he was in a position battle up until probably Arrowhead when he clearly started to establish himself as the dude, and he's multifaceted. Like the way they've grown his game, I think, is incredible. I don't know if it's all Simpson. I want to give him credit because I love Coach Simpson, but just getting to stop the run, and so obviously working with Braden and McCullough's game it's bordering on it's oozing spectacular. It's really good. I don't want to overdo it, but from where I saw him to what they're asking him to do, he's a developmental poster child in terms of next leveling your game for the pros.
Right. Especially what I thought when he joined the program and they talked about moving him to Jack and all that. I initially, and even as we got closer to the season, I was like, okay, well, especially early in the year, I think we're just going to primarily see him in like this pin your ears back, get after the quarterback type setting. But nope, he's fitting the run and he's reading and reacting and he's triggering and he's moving all over the place and they're asking him to do a bunch. And I think go back and watch like the Indiana, because Indiana was the last time he was playing this close to the line of scrimmage. Because he didn't do it in high school either. He was a safety in high school.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And at Indiana,
my mind is spilling in the run game against.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not for the faint of heart, and that's not what he did.
That's not a natural movement for him. Like that's just not like it's something that has to be one taught and like repped again and again.
You have to have some stones. You got to commit to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think the most impressive thing is you go back and watch the Indiana tape, and I think he had like 5.5 sacks that year. He doesn't really look like he has a pass rush plan.
No.
He's either unblocked or it's height, weight, speed, just beating out, just quick trigger off. He's got pass rush moves. He has a plan snap after snap for how he's attacking. Mentally, he's so much further ahead than where he was 2 years ago. And this isn't a guy that has been like just kind of sitting and developing.
Yeah, it's not like he didn't have tools, but I'm telling you, man, like
Nebraska
Nebraska has helped next level him.
Right. The tools. Yeah, he's been playing in go look at what Kendall Daniels is doing at Oklahoma, like against Michigan last week. That's what Deshaun McCullough's been doing for the last 2 years. He's been playing safety. He's been playing in space. Like that's not what he's asked to do now. But it's come along so fast that I thought, and again, like I was validated in again texting back and forth with Rose Ivy and just being like, hey, I feel like the green lights come on. I feel like it's like there now, and he said the same thing. I think Michigan's going to be like, hey, breakout opportunity, because Rose Ivy sees it too. There's a weakness at Michigan at left tackle.
Their edge. Well, we'll get to Michigan next week. I don't. People laughed at me, but I've got one eye on Central Michigan tomorrow at 11.
No, yeah, they and it's just, I mean, if Andrew Babalola, the freshman left tackle out of Kansas City, if he was playing, they'd probably be better. But he tore his ACL preseason, so now they're starting a guy, Evan Link, who is just not very good. Like it's fine. Like he's fine at left tackle.
I wonder. Again, not Michigan week yet, but since we went there,
I mean,
I don't know how explosive they are outside the numbers either, given how they want to utilize Underwood. Like,
no,
that evolution has to happen in a hurry if it's going to be something that they're going to, you know what I mean?
That they do this year.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, we're 2 weeks into it, so again, it could change tomorrow. But like, I'm going into this game, I'm like, okay, I think Nebraska's secondary can play man and be fine against Michigan. Like, I'm not really, I don't think a single weapon of theirs specifically concerns me relative to Nebraska. I will say, Marlon Klein worries me. The tight end 17.
And Nebraska has been a little like, listen, good tight ends are hard to
match up with. They have matchups. They have Javen Wright. They have Deshaun. Like, they have bodies that can match up. I'm just curious to see how Nebraska does it. But you're right. Like, I think Nebraska's biggest question against that game, like as we're going into that game, is going to be, can they stop Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall? And then offensively, are they going to be able to, behind Emmett Johnson, and if it's just Emmett Johnson, can they hold on to the ball? Can they dominate time of possession against a Michigan team that, is traditionally going to be looking to dominate time of possession?
And Michigan's really good defensively on the second level.
Yes.
So that's going to be that's the nice little cat and mouse between Nebraska's O-line getting to second level on those guys, and can Nebraska's passing game manipulate Michigan on the second level to slow,
I think there's opportunity,
to slow them down fitting in the run game.
Yeah.
So Michigan gets to where they're going in the run game from the second level.
Oh, yeah. I would say, yeah. I do think Dana, like watching that Oklahoma-Michigan game, I think he's got a smile on his face looking at the open receivers running around for Michigan. I think there's an opportunity in the pass game.
That's our guy, Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Great stuff as always, Tim. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, TV.
Don't forget, be a little nicer to DB tomorrow so he doesn't get his feelings hurt.
Hey, I'm just gonna dap you up from far and let you and Steve keep going to do work. My men's are dying.
Hey, it's Houston Christian. We can hang. I got time. I'm not stressing.